Here's a very interesting book by Geert van Kesteren. It's called Baghdad Calling. It's a few years old and I bought it used, so it has some condition is not so great. Subtitled Reports from Turkey, Syria, Jordan and Iraq. And it's about Baghdad itself. When it was produced, Baghdad was an incredibly dangerous place to go to. That's just the introduction here. So Van Kesteren went and met refugees from Iraq, and they were not living in Iraq any longer. And he asked them for photographs, which often were taken using cell phones and cheapo cameras, as a way of portraying the city. You can clearly see that the cameras used to make these photographs are not so great. So these are the photographs from these refugees. You can see they're printed on newspaper paper, on newsprint, and they show Baghdad as seen by the people who used to live there. That was a no-go zone for Western journalists for a long time. So there's a few captions. I'm just going to read this one. I was in my college talking to my friend's father, who wanted us to convince this friend to return to Iraq to continue his studies, and as we were talking, this big explosion took place. It doesn't really look so big in the photograph, but you know, this is just the way cameras work. I'm sure if you're there, Earth was shattering. So these are just life in Baghdad. And then in between, you have these different pages. You already saw them in the beginning with all the text, with the red font on top. These are stories and images that Van Kesteren took. And they are not in Iraq. This here is in Syria, Damascus. And this is where he found the refugees, where he talked to them. And you can see they're printed on a different kind of paper. It's a different paper stock. It's not necessarily a better paper. It's very sort of cheap, flimsy, but it is a different feel. It's a semi-gloss. So that sets apart the images. It's a very simple, but I think elegant device to do this. And then, so these are all these stories meeting various of those refugees, and then you get back to seeing images taken by Iraqis. I think this is clearly one of the best books made by a photojournalist about the Iraq War. You know, I'm sure a lot of people will have problems with me calling this book photojournalistic, because most of the photography was not taken by the photojournalist and all this kind of stuff. But it's a view of the war and the situation in Iraq that focuses on ordinary Iraqis and not on US soldiers or on people with guns. And it was not produced by someone walking around with a military and a big helmet. So this is I think this is a very interesting idea to expand how photojournalism can work. It's done very smartly. It's already a few years old. I bought this used somewhere. I actually bought it because I had to teach a class on photo books, and this was just a perfect book for that class. So here's another inlay by Van Kesteren. This is photography in Jordan. And it goes on like this. So by now you have an idea of what the book looks like. I'm not going to go through the whole book, because it's also another, you really need to put this book in your lap and look. It's not so ideal for this setup. And as you can see, there's 388 pages, so there's a lot of photographs, lots of stories, a lot of stuff that's pretty gruesome. This is a video still from a mortuary. So it's not just all ordinary lives, there's also a lot of grim stuff, plus some photographs just showing the living conditions of Iraqis, ordinary Iraqis. I'm sure they haven't really changed all that much. So if you want to get an interesting book about the war in Iraq, this is one that you probably want to look into. Baghdad Calling by Geert van Kesteren.